Hi there, my name's John Stevens. I'm pastor of Zion Lutheran Church in Oregon City, Oregon, and we're part of the ELCA. And welcome to Dollar Store Children's Sermons, where we take a look at the lectionary texts and we tie them to something. Either something from the Dollar Tree, the junk drawer, your garage, your kid's room, something like that. And today we're looking at, it's the 20th Sunday after Pentecost, and we're looking at all of the lessons, really, because my springboards today have springboards. So there's something out of each one of these texts that we can really kind of do something with. So the hard part for me is to keep it down and just do a couple. We're going to start with the gospel lesson. You know, this is the fun one where it's like, render unto Caesar what is Caesar. Okay, anyway. The whole time where Jesus again gets asked the question about trying to trap him. I know, shocking, huh? They've never tried to do that. They're trying to trap Jesus, and Jesus, of course, asks them a question, and there's this sneakiness going on, but there's like this underneath where he really gets at it when he asks them to give him a coin, and they give him a coin, and on the coin is a graven image, because followers of the law, Jewish law, wouldn't have a coin with someone else's image. But that's we could have a whole Bible study and stuff like that. But for the kids, this whole idea is, and this is where I'm going to go with the item, the springboard, is having either a globe or a telescope or a book that has a map of the known universe. Because when it comes down to it, everything we have is lent to us by God. God owns everything. Everything that God created, it's God's. We're God's. God's with the apostrophe. And we're owned by, or created and loved, and we're part of God's family, but everything is God's. So this idea that, and that's where I want to focus. There's so many things, ways you could go with that, but this idea that to remind the kids that God created them, God enfolds them in God's grace and God's love, and that everything belongs to God. It's the idea that the circle keeps I was going to say the circle keeps expanding. Well, the circle only keeps expanding about how we see what God includes, because God from the very beginning has encased us in grace. So that's the first springboard, a map of the known universe, a telescope, this idea that everything belongs to God. So there's that first one. The next springboard has to do with the first lesson, and this is, this idea that God has been active even when we haven't known that God is active. I've done these things, and you did not know. I did this, and you did not know it was me. I did this conversation that God is having with Israel, and there's the J, and it's just this idea of, I got two ideas for this one. Was the nice anonymous letter, because we've had the anonymous letter where it's critiqued something we've done and you can't do anything with it, and you're like, great, I'm gonna think about this forever. But then there's the note, where it's just a random act of kindness, where you get this note and you're like, and I don't know who did it. Or you show up and there's a basket of fruit or something left in front of your office door, or you've done a random act of kindness for someone and they didn't know who it was. This idea that God is on a mission, and God is going to get God's mission done, whether we are part of it or not, and we get to be part of it. The fact that God is active without us, how dare God do that? But God then says, hey, come along. You get to be part of this blessing. You get to be part of what I'm doing in the world. And so I'm really focusing on that. I did this, and you didn't know it. I've done this. and you didn't know it. And then there is, in that image, there's the calling. And there is that calling that God calls us to do. So, second springboard. The third springboard is in Thessalonians, and Paul uses there's this phrase where Paul says, basically, everybody has heard about you, and so much that we haven't even had to talk about you. And I had this idea of charades, and it's really focusing on that, how where our actions can speak louder than words. And maybe this is a combination of the random acts of kindness and charades. I mean, that they go together, that our actions speak louder than words. I'm thinking of the last Sunday, well, actually 2 Sundays ago. I'm recording this the day after the St. Francis of Assisi Day. And a quote is attributed to him, or it could be Augustine, or it could be Luther, it could be, I've heard it lately attributed to St. Francis of Assisi. It probably was the janitor, and but preach the gospel at all times, and if necessary, use words. This idea of that our lives speak volumes. I love the fact that there could be a community of people down the street that go, hey, have you heard about Zion Lutheran? They're doing amazing things. And not because of what they've heard, but what they've seen. So that's the other springboard, about being imitators of Christ, and being that our actions have ripple effects in the community. So lots of springboards here. I'm hoping one of these will help you in your children's sermon. And always, thanks for stopping by. And I was thinking about it today. I'm recording from the church to my office, as you can tell. I've got what I call my hell wall back there, and it feels good to be back. And I'm only here during this week because our office admin's gone. We're keeping one person in the building for phones, doors locked, got our masks, doing safety stuff. But there's that sense where something so normal feels good, because we're in the sense of communal tiredness, communal grief. We've been walking through this for so long. We've hit the 6th month wall, and know that you are doing exactly what you need to do, and you are rocking it, and you are a blessing to your kids. And be reminded, I remind my people this all the time, but today maybe you need to hear it, that nothing can separate you from the love of God found in Christ Jesus. I love how Paul says it. I am convinced, so I'll say it, I'm convinced that nothing can separate you from the love of God found in Christ Jesus. All right, my friends, we will see you next week. Peace.